Today, it's raw horsepower reverberating from the rafters of the Indiana State Fairgrounds Coliseum as the world capital of speed, Indianapolis, plays host to the most powerful sport on earth. It's four-wheel drive action from the Indy Super Bowl coming up next. This is Trucks and Tractor Power, featuring the All-Stars of the National Tractor Pullers Association. Welcome to Trucks and Tractor Power on the Nashville Network. Today we present the best in NTPA pulling. Hi everybody, I'm Gary Lee at Palmer Dodge West in my hometown of Indianapolis, Indiana. Here it is, the iron horse of the working man, the pickup truck. Now, trucks have certainly found their way into mainstream motorsports. Take, for an example, the monster trucks that we see on a regular basis here on TNN. But today we feature the four-wheel drive pulling class. They may be stock appearing like this one, but they're highly modified for the ultimate test of strength. Let's go now to the Indiana State Fairgrounds Coliseum and my colleague, Army Armstrong.
Gary, you're exactly right. And I am standing in an arena literally surrounded by mountain motors. What's a mountain motor? Well, in layman's terms, anything over 500 cubic inches is called a mountain motor. And any form of motorsport, normally 500 cubic inches is big. This is a super pull. I think it's going to take over 600 cubic inches to be a player here today. Something else you got to keep in mind about the sport of pulling. Not only do they have big motors, they got big weights to pull. And that's where one of the unique parts of this sports come in. Pulling, you have to get heavy to be competitive. Other forms of motorsports, you want to get light. That's not the case in pulling. Four-wheel drive vehicles are going to be as light as they possibly can on the back. The sled, weighing about 30,000 pounds, that's going to hold the back of the truck down. The problem these guys have, getting the horsepower to stick to the track, is on the very front. How do you get the front wheels to stick? Well, in this case, they've hung 14 weights weighing 100 pounds apiece on the nose. 1,400 pounds to get the horsepower to stick.
Hi everybody, Gary Lee along with Army Armstrong for the four-wheel drive class. A full pull, once again, 230 feet. The sled weight, 37,000 pounds. So the drivers have had a chance to look over this dirt track here in the Coliseum, but only one pass. And the first to go out, Robert Smith in the Three Bears Racing entry from Winchester, Virginia. Here is a name that has become synonymous, and his passenger always the same, the Brown Bear.
Yeah, if you got a logo in motorsports, it's got to be the passenger Brown Bear for the Smith family.
Once again, 37,000 pounds, the sled weight. As you see the sled begin to move forward, and Bob begins to bog down.
The weight box you can actually see coming forward. Now, there's another part in this pulling class, the 207.9 recorded by Smith. You've got to set the chassis in this class. Now, it's hard to believe that chassis suspension is so important in pulling, but what you want to stay away from is a bounce. So keep an eye on Smith when the replay comes up. See a little bit of a bounce. That could cost him some distance.
All right, once again, he veers off to his right just a bit. He has to stay within those white line lines, and he is bouncing just a bit. There's a replay on his run. Let's go trackside and visit with Bob Smith.
Bob, drawing the #1 position in this field of trucks, is that an advantage or a disadvantage?
Well, it has been in the past years, but a lot of guys think it's going to get better toward the end, but we'll have to wait and see about that.
You satisfied with the run?
Yeah, well, not quite. It had a little hop in there I wasn't satisfied with, but I'm pretty well finished. Need to adjust the clutch.
Well, there is a look at the great equalizer in this sport. That is the sled, and here is a piece that Army recorded earlier this evening for us.
Gary, you're exactly right, and the most often asked question I receive when I go across the country about pulling is, can you tell me about the weight transfer sled? Yeah, basically it's pretty simple. There's only 3 pieces to a weight transfer sled. You got the weight box itself, that's where you actually put the physical weight. You got a main drive assembly, that's nothing more than a frame. And you got a skid pan, that rests on the track itself, and I'm going to show you how they all work. When you leave the starting line, the weight box I told you about is located at the very back of the vehicle, okay? It goes up the main drive assembly, the framework I was telling you about, as you go down the track. Now what happens there is you're transferring the weight from the rear to the front. That puts pressure on the skid pan assembly, which is located flat on the track surface. So you're not only pulling more weight, you're pulling more drag, and that's what pulls these monsters down.
And next to take on the monster is Steve Moe in Saddle Tramp out of Columbia, Missouri.
One thing you got to remember, Gary, we just explained the sled. Once the sled is set, like Steve Moe will pull the same sled everybody else is going to pull today. Once it's set, they are all pulling the same sled.
Chevrolet Power, and there is the distance to beat. 2:07.9 turned in by Bob Smith.
This is a finesse class. You got to roll out, get into the throttle, now dial the horsepower in. The weight's coming up on him, Gary.
Good pull. Still a good pull, though.
Awfully good pull.
2:16.11. So once again, we have a new leader. 2:16.11 for Steve Moe out of Columbia, Missouri.
You know, it just amazes me. It's such a brute class, but still finesse is an important part of it.
As you say, they roll into the throttle. It's not like a drag race where you hammer the throttle all at once. They roll into it very gingerly. And once again, at 2:16.11, let's talk to Steve Moe.
Well, Steve, 2:16.11. It looks like an awfully good run. Will that work on a 230-foot track?
I think it felt good. If the track stays together, it should stick right up in there, I believe.
I like the name of this one, win, lose, or draw. This is Jeff Schaffer. He is our next puller out of Mount Vernon, Ohio. Another Chevrolet pickup truck, Chevrolet Power. And the distance to beat, 2:16.11.
And one of the interesting things that was brought out in our previous interview is if the track stays together. Four-wheel drive, you got that vehicle digging 4 holes all the way down the track, and in this class, they seem to be going to the right side of the track. They see something there. I don't know what it is, but everybody's working the right side, Gary.
Well, Jeff Schaffer falls short at 2:01.11, just under 202 feet here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds Coliseum.
As the truck takes off, you can look over the sled, notice some of the other crew members for the trucks that are drawing later in the field. Again, the four-wheel trucks will handle completely different than anything else, but they see something on the right side of the track that's making them go over there.
Robert Ratke coming up next out of Franksville, Wisconsin. He calls his truck the Sledgehammer.
That's a good-looking truck. It proves you don't have to have a lot of stickers and decals and stuff to have a good-looking piece of equipment, doesn't it, Gary?
Yeah, but those stickers represent sponsorship money, so I'd like to have all kinds of stickers on my racer.
Well, I understand that, but, this young man's got him a fine-looking truck here.
With, as you call it, the mountain motor.
That's right. These guys can go bear hunting with the switch. They run so many cubic inches. The old weight box coming up on him. Not a lot of ground speed, but, boy, they're planting the horsepower to that track.
199.9, so 3 inches shy of 200 feet here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds Coliseum for the Indy Super Pull, part of the Copenhagen Skoal pulling series.
Now, Gary, one of the things that is interesting about this particular event is these fellows qualify from all over the country to come and run here. They get points at a regional level to compete in the Super Pull.
Coming up next will be Gene Fanny Jr., and this is a Jeep. You don't see too many of these in the circuit. That's gone AWOL.
Well, Gene's an interesting individual. He plays it to the hilt. He has a lot of fun with the pulling sport, the color combinations and everything. Of course, I kind of like the idea of an Army truck.
Ooh, you would. Well, Gene brings along his family. There's his grandmother Thelma and his mom Elizabeth, and they're cheering for all it's worth as the run is underway.
Well, the weight's coming up. He's working it right. You don't believe these people don't get excited about this, man. Well, next time.
All right, there's the pull, 195.6. Not all that successful, but I tell you, the family gets into it. There are your current standings now. Steve Moe continues to lead over Robert Smith and Jeff Schaffer. More coming your way with four-wheel drive action from the Indiana State Fairgrounds. Stay with us. Along with Army Armstrong back at the Super Pull from the Indiana State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis. And coming up next is Mike Johnson, the Big J pulling team. This is Showdown, the team out of Perry, Oklahoma. Mike Johnson, his brother Scott, is his crew chief. There's a look at Scott.
And Scott sometimes drives the truck, but they've kind of gone over now and let Mike get in that driver's seat and get used to it. You notice his tires that they're running on these things, and any kind of motorsport, there are tire manufacturers, and Dick Cepek out of California makes these tires that are designed specifically to hold this kind of horsepower and to really get down and fight, Gary. Every driver has their own idea as to how to groove your tire.
Just a few inches short, 2:13.1. Actually falls about 3 feet short right now of that run to beat at 2:16.11, turned in earlier by Steve Moe. As we take a look once again, the guys are lining up in the middle of the track. Good bite, but you can see that weight start to transfer, pulls him down to a 2:01.1. Let's go trackside and talk to Mike Johnson.
Now, every year you guys come from Oklahoma in the dead of winter to run this track. How do you tune for it? Is it the same track this year as it was last year, or how do you tune when you only get one shot?
I believe it's a little better track this year than it was last year. Last year, whenever they brought the dirt in, it was all still frozen, and the track stayed wet all weekend long. This year, they were able to keep the dirt inside, control the temperature on it. The dirt is a lot drier this year, so it's a lot better track. This track is really comparable to pulling outdoors.
I hadn't thought about that. That's a concern. Wintertime, frozen dirt. Put the ice skates on.
Got to get the moisture out of the dirt, and it's kind of strange. As James Bosch goes to the line, a lot of the way they pull the moisture out of it is actually spread concrete, believe it or not, to help pull some of that moisture out. But we don't have that problem this year. The track's as hard as concrete, but it's all clay.
Here comes the Midnight Raider Chevrolet Power 4-wheel drive class, the Indiana State Fairgrounds, and he is almost going out of bounds on the left side.
The left side. See, they've come all the way across the track. The class started working the right side, and they're working their way across.
A 2:08.5, the distance, as he comes very close to being disqualified. Let's watch again as that truck begins to pull off to the left.
What you have to remember, again, the first couple of trucks went to the right. We were talking about it. Then they lined up in the middle. Now they're all the way to the left. What I'm saying is nobody's going to have a fresh track to go in. You got to follow somebody somewhere if you're in the rest of this field.
You're saying that track is going to be well chewed up as we get down toward the end of the pulling line.
Exactly.
Tom Mankey comes up next. He is out of Arlington, Wisconsin, the Foolish Farmer.
I'm kind of anxious to see where he's going to line up his Pendoliner Ford. He kind of goes back to the middle to start to see if he stays there.
Well, there's Tom's wife, Christine, and daughter, Jody. Son, Mike, is also here. A true family affair at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. Let's watch their reaction as Tom makes his way down 230 feet of dirt.
Wade comes up. He goes to the left side. He did not stay in the middle. Boy, he leaned on that engine. Look at it.
You know what she's thinking about? How much is this going to cost us?
New kitchen cabinets. Well, we'll get them next year. No, we're teasing. I'm glad to see the family supporting these guys. I think that is fantastic, and I'm proud of them all.
Joe Flannery coming up next in the Excellence in Motion.
Now, we opened the show. I was telling you about what they call mountain motors. This rascal, 650 cubic inch, but look how far the motor is towards the front of the truck, trying to get all the weight they can over that front axle, Gary.
And once again, the pull to beat, 2:16.11.
Well, when that weight box comes up, it doesn't take any prisoners, does it, Gary Lee?
Well, he falls short at 2:06.1, so he'll put the Excellence in Motion back on the trailer and haul it back to Eden, New York, his hometown, as our leader continues to be Steve Moe in Saddle Tramp, Mike Johnson second in Showdown, and James Bosch third in the Midnight Raider. 3 more drivers to take a shot at Steve Moe, and here's the truck they call Lost in the 50s. Alan Sneed out of Lancaster, Ohio, a 1951 Chevrolet pickup truck. Isn't there a song, Lost in the 50s?
Yeah, but there's also another 51 truck. All of a sudden, the 51 Chevrolet pickup truck are becoming very popular with this truck, the Gravedigger.
The Gravedigger?
Okay. But he's got a little bit of a problem here. Right side of the engine, a little bit of death smoke coming out. It leaves a line. And at this point in time, with one shot, you just put it on kill and pull the trigger and hope it'll live to the other end. Not going to be there, Gary.
Well, it might live, but it's going to come up well short.
He was down on horsepower, that's for sure.
Well short, 189 feet for Alan Sneed. Once again, we're shooting for 2:16.11.
Alan knew when he left the line, Gary, he had to shoot them bones up. You see the smoke coming out of one side of the engine, one shot, middle of the winter. He just got to go for it. He gave it his best shot. It just, the track was holding horsepower. He just couldn't make enough to be competitive today.
Well, it does come up short at 189, and that turns the track over to Bob Minich. He is our next puller out of Winchester, Virginia, and he drives the small change Chevy El Camino. Well, another thought on body configuration.
Yeah, again, weight is how you determine a class. As you see the hookup chain, again, top of the screen, you see the kill switch for the electrical system. Bottom of the screen, you see the change. Okay, what happens in this class? Again, everything is determined by the weight. They got to weigh 6,200 pounds. This El Camino is going to follow a 51 Chevrolet. You know, everybody that's got a pickup truck can be a player in this class.
Well, we only have 2 more drivers to take a shot at Steve Moe, and Bob Minich is one of them, but he comes up short as well.
Boy, he had some ground speed at half track. Well, as soon as the weight got over center on that weight box, it came after him big time.
3 feet short at 2:13.3. So Steve Moe's 2:16.11 is still looking pretty good as we take a look at the front of this El Camino. That is small change. That's the big block Chevy housed in the fiberglass body of an El Camino, but the run comes up short for Bob Minich at 2:13.3, and that leaves us with only one guy to take a shot at Steve Moe, and that will be Jim Holman. They're the Holman brothers, Paul on the right, Jim in the cockpit. So he'll be the last one to have a shot at Steve Moe's 2:16.11. Hey, Army, what do you have for us?
Hey, Gary, we got a new nickname for this guy. It's Body English Bob. You were really getting down and getting dirty in that last 1 foot. Did the Body English help you any?
Well, I tell you, 235 pounds, I was trying to get all I could to the front.
Anything you can do to win. Hey, you're set number 2. Good luck to you.
Thank you. I hope I stay there.
If you're going to rock like that in the cockpit, you wear a lap belt, but not a shoulder strap. As we take a look at the 4-play Chevrolet, this is Jim Holman. And Jim will be the last driver to have a shot at Steve Moe. And the distance to beat, 2:16.11. And Steve Moe stands by now with Army Armstrong.
Well, Gary, here's a guy that's got one more bullet to dodge. You think you can hang on and win it?
Well, Holmans are the toughest there are, so I think I can hang on to it, but it's going to be close.
You know he's going to come after you with everything he's got.
And anybody can do it, he's the one that can do it.
You keep an eye on him. We're going to be keeping an eye on both of you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Now, you said it, Army. We will watch Jim Holman in the 4-play Chevrolet, and we'll keep an eye on Steve Moe to see what his reaction is. Steve out of Columbia, Missouri, and Jim Holman, a Buckeye out of the state of Ohio. There's his brother Paul as he looks on. There is the chain. There is the safety kill switch line just above it.
And, Gary, there is the intensity. Drama. Look, his hands are shaking. He could be the winner of the Indy Super Bowl. He's just got to dodge one bullet. Everybody's loaded both barrels. This is what this sport is all about. The last lap in an outlaw feature, the last lap at Daytona. No more intensity than you're going to see right now. He's coming after him, Gary.
Paul shakes his head. He knows it's not good enough, and Steve Moe now realizes he has won. The distance for the record, 1:95.7. Your winner is Steve Moe.
All right, Steve, congratulations. Your first Indy Super Bowl win.
Thank you very much. This is the happiest day of my pulling career.
I tell you, we were kind of keeping an eye on you. This is a very, very important win. You worked awfully hard to get it. We're awfully proud of you. Hey, this could be the first of many.
I hope it keeps going from here. I'd like to thank one person. That's my dad. He made it all happen. He did most of the driving this summer, and he got me here.
Congratulations. Then the winner's check goes out. It'll be made out to you.
Thank you very much.
And our congratulations to Steve Moe, the young man from Columbia, Missouri, as he drives Saddle Tramp to victory here at the Indy Super Bowl in the Coliseum on the Indiana State Fairgrounds. As we take a look at Jim Holman now in the 4-play Chevrolet. He was the last driver to have a shot at Steve Moe, but he came up short at 1:95.7. And, of course, Holman's name is synonymous with championships in this division, and he's standing by right now with Army Armstrong.
Jim, I tell you what, you've been in the winner's circle before, but this kid was sweating BBs today when he knew you were sitting at the back of the field coming after him. But to be very honest, it just didn't sound like your motor ever got up on top and started making horsepower.
No, we just plain goofed on the gear, tried to run too much gear, and it just never could come up. I liked the start and everything, but it just couldn't come to life. We were asking too much of it.
You know, if it's any consolation to you, all these guys were scared to death of you when they knew you drew at the back of the field. Congratulations on a good run.
Yeah, thanks. I don't know about the good run, but thanks. And we had a good year. We're happy to be here.
As these motorsports fans head for the exit, that will wrap it up here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds Coliseum. Once again, the final standing showing Steve Moe, your champion in Saddle Tramp, Bob Minich second in Small Change, and Mike Johnson third in Showdown. Well, that will wrap it up for the Indy Super Bowl. For Army Armstrong, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on another edition of Trucks and Tractor Power.